Good morning, Dan and Amy. So the guy that Eddie Redmayne played passed away. And Stephen Hawking died at the age of 76, came over the transom late yesterday evening.
He was diagnosed with ALS in 1963, so he has lived with this disease for decades.
Yeah, obviously a famed theoretical cosmologist.
Renowned scientist, all that.
Right, although he was wrong about Higgs boson, wasn't he? And he had to admit Peter Higgs was right. We'll debate.
I remember that. We're going to debate that in the last hour of the
8
show
o'clock
this morning.
hour, we're going to debate. We're going to reenact the argument between Stephen Hawking and Peter Higgs about the Higgs boson. The particle that gives, the God particle, right? Of course, you know, the particle that gives matter, protons, protons and electrons mass.
Right.
So that's going to be a fun 8 o'clock hour.
Yeah.
Stephen Hawking, also known as a great comedic actor in such series as Family Guy.
Tell your wife to come over to my place if she wants a little boom shakalaka. Boom shakalaka. Boom shakalaka. Boom.
Is that too soon?
Well, no, but this is, he did have a funny side to him when he was on Larry King. Once Larry King asked him, he said, "What puzzles you the most about this world?" And he said, "Women." He can't figure women out. He can figure everything out, but not us, not our gender.
That's a good one. He was better in Family Guy when he had writers.
That feels so good.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like that.
baby.
I thought about this all day.
Not so fast. You are hurting me.
Dan, that is when you do say way too soon, not just too soon.
Yeah. He would have enjoyed it. Yeah, you just mentioned this great sense of humor that he had.
He did have a great sense of humor, and that's why, he let them use his appearance and his voice on Family Guy and on The Simpsons.
Right. Everybody can talk about cosmology. This is
Einstein's theory of relativity.
I'm sorry, who's what? All right, switching gears. Today is March 14th by my look at the calendar. That means that a bunch of kids who are in charge of schools where adults get paid are walking out to protest gun violence, protest guns, to
and want the banning of assault rifles, assault weapons.
Whatever those are, memorialize the 17 that were murdered in Parkland. But in Chicago, that is being met with some resistance. The resistance turns the tables. And that is the Chicago Republican Party has sued CPS over these walkouts. Why did they do that, and how are they faring? For more on that topic, we're pleased to be joined by Chris Cleveland, who is the chairman of the Chicago Republican Party. Chris, thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Dan.
So why the lawsuit against, or perhaps you're just seeking injunctive relief, but why the action against CPS?
Well, what we've actually done is filed a complaint with the Inspector General, and we'll see what he actually does. But the problem is that we've got teachers who are taking kids out for a political rally on public property, on public time. And it's just, this is in political indoctrination. It's totally inappropriate.
Well, how many schools, because I know my kid's school is not doing it, but how many CPS schools are planning a walkout? Do you know?
Well, we know that the walkouts are going to be widespread. The one that triggered it was my own school. I have a child in a CPS school. And in this one, they were planning to take grades 5 through, herd them outside for this demonstration. They encouraged them to make posters about gun control to express their opinions about it. Now, I don't think they're telling these kids to, be against gun control here. It's clear that they're pushing a political view upon them.
Well, and we've seen this in some of the survivors from Parkland and other school shootings who've spoken out that there's some divided opinion among young people about guns, as there is in the general public. And so you've had some people, some kids, some high school students say, well, no, I'm not opposed to guns, or no, I don't think banning guns is the answer to what happened in Parkland. And is there any indication from your kids' experience or what you've heard that people that don't hew to the orthodoxy of the Chicago Teachers Union on the issue are being allowed to express themselves too?
No, there's no indication of it because this is an elementary school. I mean, these kids are 10, 11 years old, grades, 5 through 8, 14. I mean, they're not old enough to really have formed an informed political opinion upon this sort of thing. And they're going to do what their teachers tell them to do in this case, or what their peers are saying that they should do. What they're going to do is they're going to herd all these kids out, and the few kids who choose not to participate, they do have some provision for this, they're going to be put into their own room where they just have to sit by themselves for this room.
A veritable overhead bin, Amy.
Stop it. But then they could face bullying, too, from other students who want them to take part in this protest, which they believe it's their civic duty to do so. You had mentioned that they encouraged the kids to make posters. Did the teachers tell them what exactly should be on the posters, or encourage them?
All we
make
know
some
is what
suggestions?
what the principal said in his email, and he said that they are encouraged to bring posters to express their opinion. Now you can guess what that means exactly.
Yeah, and so the complaint has been filed with the Inspector General, the City Inspector General.
Right, CPS inspector.
Oh, CPS. Well, okay, yeah, right, CPS. Yeah, I keep forgetting that we pretend that CPS and the city are two different things. Yeah, so, but this is something, obviously, you filed it yesterday. The walkouts today, they're not going to adjudicate it. So this is going to happen, right? I mean, unless you, for your specific child, you pull your kid out of school or something like that.
Well, we've appealed to the good sense of CPS, and if they're wise enough to recognize that this is an explicit violation of CPS policy, written CPS policy, it's a violation of state law, and it's a violation of the First Amendment, you'd think that they would call the principals or put out a note and say, hey, come on, you can't do this. Are they going to have the good sense to do this? I don't know.
Wow.
But somehow I doubt it.
So personally, what have you decided to do with your daughter or son? Are they going to stay in a specific classroom while people walk, or are they just going to go walk outside, get some fresh air?
Well, he's a third grader, so he's not going to be among those who are herded outside for this thing. So we've dodged that bullet this time. Who knows what will happen in a couple of years when we have to deal with it.
Well, that's the remarkable thing, isn't it? I mean, as you mentioned it, but it bears repeating and emphasizing. First, second, third graders, fourth, fifth graders, and they're supposed to take hard positions on public policy issues like guns and get out there with placards. And obviously, this is just following the lead of the adults to the extent that you call that leadership, and it's exploitive, really, isn't it?
Well, yeah, of course, it's coercive. At that age, it's coercive. It's political indoctrination. And not only does it not make any sense, not is it obviously wrong, it's a violation of the law. I mean, you cannot be doing this. State law says you can't use public property for private political purposes.
Well,
It's crystal clear.
And if you're worried about kids' safety, I mean, keeping them in school as opposed to, forcing them to go outside, because I know personally our school is on a busy street, so I don't want that to happen.
Or if you're just worried about, as Chris mentioned, the rule of law in a free society. If you're worried about the state law meaning anything.
Well, the head of Chicago Public Schools came out and assured parents that students would not be punished for participating. So even though if a school is doing it and then a student wants to walk out and leave, they're not going to be punished.
What about but the question is, should the people breaking the law be punished, I guess, is the operative question, right?
Yeah, obviously. And as I said, CPS has an explicit rule which explicitly prohibits political demonstrations or rallies on public property. A teacher who leads this sort of thing ought to be subject to some kind of penalties, else the rule is meaningless.
All right, he is Chris Cleveland, appealing to the good sense of CPS.
Good luck with it. we're pulling for you.
He's chairman of the Chicago Republican Party. Chris, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good. Thanks, Dan and Amy.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's